the topic of innovation, and we will also debate how it connects with sustainability. Thank you, Cyril, for being with us today. We're live on LinkedIn one more time, maybe the last time this year. It's really exciting. Thank you for being with us. Cyril is a strategic digital partnership lead. He has been instrumental in developing strategies around competitive intelligence. He understands deeply the complexities around IP, intellectual property management, licensing, valuation, technology transfers, and innovation is at the heart of his deal making. As a sustainability and ESG advocate, he's really conscious of how all of these topics interconnect and where it starts, the innovation, where it ends, and where sustainability is also coming into play. Essentially, he is involved in projects that have enabled sustained growth. So we're going to be welcoming him today. Thank you once more to be with us today. And I'll let you take the floor and tell us more about the topic at hand.
Well, hello, Rebecca, hello, everybody. Thank you for this great presentation, and thank you for taking the lead in organizing this event. Today, the point is to discover how you can assess or measure innovation using very simple techniques or KPIs. I think is extremely useful, as everybody claims to be innovative today, whether it's a small startup or a gigantic multinational. And whether you are a CEO, an investor, a researcher in R&D, or simply a job seeker trying to assess an industry or a certain type of company, you probably wonder how to identify innovative companies or master all aspects of innovation, position your innovation strategy to investors or your superior, or to build a full innovation ecosystem. And you briefly introduced me, but with 15 years in working in technology evaluation, organizational enablement, and R&D management, I think I can show you a few very simple techniques on how to assess innovation in an organization. So I will share the slide. Here we go.
Thank you.
Voilà. Let's jump straight into the subject of innovation. I think a good presentation always starts with a good definition, because probably anyone in the audience might have its own definition of innovation. And there is one that I like a lot. I reduced it a bit for the purpose of this presentation. I can give the reference if anyone is interested. But at the end of the day, innovation is the successful implementation of a new product or method to generate economic and social value. You can have other on the market, but this one I think is comprehensive. It focuses on product, method, and also on economic and social aspects. So how do we assess innovation? In this presentation, we will go through several ways to do so. There's the innovation premium, that is a concept developed by Forbes, the journal.
Yeah.
The innovation readiness of an organization, that is a concept developed by Boston Consulting Group. And then we will go through maybe more obvious innovation KPIs. The first and maybe most obvious is the R&D budget, the velocity. I mean, how fast are you to bring innovation into the market? Then, of course, intellectual property. And we will also go through with the linkage with social values and sustainability.
Awesome.
And there will be a conclusion on a specific company, but let's jump into the topic, and probably you will be able to guess which company will be.
I won't tell.
Yeah, don't tell yet, please. So again, innovation, it's you do not compete for market shares. You simply create a new market. And some companies are very successful doing this. If you look at the ranking that Forbes issues every year using this innovation premium, uh, it has a very long list of companies, and we can see the first five companies of his ranking. Sorry, next slide.
Next slide. Yes.
Yes. You can see the five most innovative companies according to Forbes, taking into account the innovation premium. So those five companies is ServiceNow, Workday, Salesforce, Tesla, and Amazon. I guess most of you know them. They used to be unicorns, or they're already very well established company. And the way this ranking is done is you take the all combined cash flows of the company and you compare with the market capitalization. So typically, the market capitalization is higher than the combined cash flows. So that is a great indicator to show that investors they have confidence in a certain stock. So that's how stock market works. I mean, you project future value, how well the stock will perform in the future, and that's why, hence you buy the stock goes up, and so on and so on. So that's why you have this premium because a lot of investors on the marketplace seem to think that those five companies they will bring great return in the future. The problem with such an approach is that you base your analysis on cash flows that are actually measured in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you put in perspective the expectation of the market.
Oh, the
Uh,
forecast. Okay.
yeah, it's not a forecast. It's really the price is high because people bought the stock.
Oh, in the past, but we're ignoring the forecast of
Yeah,
how they're going to do in the future.
behind this, financial analysts from rating agencies or um, asset management companies who actually bought the stock or advise people to buy the stock because they know the industry. They
Yeah.
have confidence that this stock will perform well in the future. You know,
Yeah.
it's how really all the stock market works. It's a whole a game of confidence. It's all a game of publicity, etc., etc. But again, my concern here is that you have confidence in the future based on cash flow analysis that is based on past performance.
Yes.
So the real value here is that an analyst knows that those guys are working on something very hot and it's going to explode in the next few years. But it's not in the annual report. Okay?
Understood.
So level of confidence is quite intangible. However, I mean, it means that I mean, those companies, they are all successful. And they have been successful. Um, they have been constantly successful the past few years. And it's not difficult to imagine that they will perform very well in the next 2 to 5 years. Okay, but still, it's an interesting, it's a
Measurement.
very interesting measurement, yeah, because it's validated by the market. No, people bought the stock. They
Yeah.
didn't invest it directly into the innovative project. They invest in the venture as a whole because it's a credible venture. And what is interesting in this, bless you, what is interesting in this ranking
Yes.
that all companies are digital companies, except
Yeah, I was
Tesla
going to
and
say this. This is all software, but anyway, software except for Tesla is also software at the end of the day because they
yeah,
had
you
to.
know, there is also
Yeah.
software. So maybe that's why it's there.
Okay.
Uh, um, and then we will discuss it a bit further, I believe, when we see the different type of rankings. We'll see other rankings.
And this is
But
Amazon, not AWS, or does it include all the groups? I mean,
includes
all the
everything.
companies. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I didn't list. I put just the logos, not the stock
Okay.
exchange thing. But
Okay.
yes, yes, it's the whole group. It's the group as a whole. Um, so keep in mind this this way of seeing things because That's something that you might be able to do with your own organization if you are not already in the ranking.
Right.
You need to there's a bit of research to be done, but you need to compare your cash flow, and if you're on the stock market, see what is your stock price and your market cap, or maybe how much your business is valued by a third party, and that's something that can be done on by yourself if you have those insiders information. Okay,
Correct.
or if you are interested in a company that is not in this ranking but is a publicly traded company, you actually can do it yourself, and you can even challenge this ranking. Um, what is very important also, we mentioned that investors, they need to have confidence in a stock in order to achieve high innovation premium. How do you do that? Or our company can show the investors what it's doing. Um, Typically, they will make announcement about a new product that they're going to launch, or a market trend that is going to be more and more important in the future, and to show that the company is ready to tackle this challenge. So you need to communicate. And again, this most likely you're not going to find a lot of information in the annual report of those companies. Annual report, again, they focus on the past, they focus on the past project, they may put some elements, but they need to have a strategy to show that people will use their solution in the future. And it's always good to communicate. And here I'm going to make a very quick parallel with sustainability.
Okay.
Companies that are successful in the sustainability communication are proactive. They are not just waiting for someone to sue them on an environmental crisis. They are not just waiting for something to fail in the organization and then they have to tackle the problem and say, yes, we learned from our mistake. No, they need to be upfront. They need to feed the, the communication space with KPIs, materiality, announcement. The same applies to innovation. You need to be upfront. You need to really show where your organization is going. And the investors are actually quite eager to see such information. Um, so you should always try to show where you're going. And I'm going to cite someone very important in this topic because, for instance, the CEO of BlackRock, that
Yeah.
is one of the biggest investor on the planet. He wants to see forward-looking data. He wants to see where you are going. Why? Because he helps his analyst to decide whether or not he's going to buy your stock. So
Yeah.
if you're a startup entrepreneur, it's the same. When you pitch your company to investors, you need to show where you're going. Because if you look at your current annual report, I mean, this is not such a great way to start because you're probably into a lot of debt or you don't have a lot of cash flow, and that's not where you're going to convince your future investor. You need to convince them, use your ideas.
Yeah.
Tell me a story, show me where you're going. And I think it's a critical aspect that you need to communicate about your strategy and your innovation strategy, where your technology, when it's going to be used, what challenge is going to tackle in the near future.
Yeah.
So the graph here, it's an interesting graph. It's based on 69 US listed companies. And the key takeaway of this graph is that, okay, you can take risk. You may be working on a project that will not bring a lot of revenues in the future, but it's not going to affect that much your stock price. What is going to affect your stock price is that you announce that you have a new patent. You announce that you commercialize a new product or you get an award. This has typically an impact on your stock price. So it's good to be upfront. It's good to be proactive. It's actually not so risky.
In the communication strategy. Okay.
Yes, it's better to be proactive. Whether it's sustainability or innovation strategy, you need to move forward. You need to show where you're going, and don't be afraid. Don't be shy. So I think that this shows that why is important to communicate in order to affect either your stock price or your company's value, or to convince investors to invest in your startup or your company. I think it's a really good takeaway. Don't be shy. Then the second let's say measurement I would like to cover today. It is a concept that has been developed by Boston Consulting Group. And I like this one a lot because the first one, it focuses on how others perceive your company. And it's great because they're voting by buying your stock. But here, BCG has done a very interesting study where they ask directly those companies if they think they are innovation ready. Typically, they ask them about their innovation ambition, their governance, their talent and culture, their portfolio management, or they manage their project, or they funnel them throughout the organization, and or they set up ecosystems and manage the organization, and also set up KPIs for innovation management. The key takeaway of this survey carried by BCG is that actually very few companies are convinced that they are innovation ready. A lot of companies think that, yeah, in terms of project management, we could do something better. In terms of talent and culture, we are struggling to keep our talents. It's a constant problem. So next to competition, we're not performing so well. So I think it's very nice because it breaks down innovation into several aspects: how you manage your projects, how you manage your people, how you manage your organization, and you ask directly the organization how they feel to assess themselves.
Okay.
Here we have another ranking. I mean, it might not be super surprising because those are big names, successful names. But
Apple.
what is surprising here is that it's quite different from the first ranking that we have. Another lens, another result. And I like it a lot because you ask the same question, more or less the same question, but if you ask it a bit differently, so of course you get another result because innovation is quite complex. Okay, it's a multi-layered approach. You cannot have a simple answer. Innovative, yes or no. Better than the neighbors, no. There are several aspects, and here we have still a lot of tech companies, but we have Apple, that is not a pure software companies. They produce things along with Tesla. So here there is something that is changing a bit compared to the first ranking.
Yeah.
And I will move directly to the next slide. Innovation process is really, and this innovation readiness clearly shows you that innovation is multifaceted, multi-layered, and what is important is all aspects of your organization work together. Your
Yeah.
resource, your organization, your innovation process, your vision and strategy, and which again is very important because you have to put in place a lot of tools and process to make sure that everybody's working together toward a single goal and a single vision. And who sets these goals? It's the leadership, the CEO. They point a finger where the organization should go. They set the values, the vision, the passion, and everything in this aspect is important. And that's why, again, I like a lot this BCG approach, because first we look at how the market is assessing your company. Now it's the company assessing itself and showing that it needs to put in place a certain number of elements in order to have a functioning innovation strategy.
Okay, so these are the elements that compose the readiness, and that's
Yeah,
one of the KPIs amongst the six. So vision and strategy, resources, and that includes I guess, headcount, budget, and then organization. So the structure, whether it's a hierarchy that's flat or more traditional, because I've seen in your list, most of these companies are relatively new, so the hierarchy is maybe a little more decentralized. So, but on some level, I guess you need to because you said the KPIs or the decision making comes from above to decide on the direction. Does it have a link whether the hierarchy is decentralized or centralized? Would you see any connection there? Because they seem to be quite innovative firms, and most of them would have those more
What
modern hierarchies. Yeah.
what here? Yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you, Rebecca. It's what we're seeing here is actually an ecosystem within a company.
Okay.
What is working in an organization might not work in another one for several factors. The culture of the company, the demographic of the company, sometimes,
Yeah.
uh, the footprint of the company is working in certain countries, time zones, and so on. So again, it's not because you're copying your competitor or certain aspect that is going to work. You need to find by yourself a balance between all those elements and make them work together. I think I read sometime that it does not matter who you hire for success, is how you make them work together. And to make them work together, you need to have a very good vision of your capabilities and your strengths and your weaknesses. And that's why, again, if we go back on the I will go back
I
on
mean, there's
the
an
slide.
element of oneness in your speech, right? There's an element of working towards the same goal, whether we're in a flat or non-flat hierarchy. But this oneness will matter to foster this innovative structure or product service processes or methodology that they're producing.
I mean, here I'm going to give the typical university answer. It depends. It's definitely that's the that's the type of answer you hear a lot during MBAs, and it depends. And but what again I think very interesting about the BCG approach is that companies are assessing themselves. Of course, behind the scene, BCG is normalizing, standardizing a bit the data as much as it can. Of
Yeah.
course, it will never be a perfect ranking. There cannot be a ranking of innovation, perfect one cannot exist. It's always depends on which approach you favor most. But again, it's asking how you perform compared to the others. I mean, it tells a lot about the confidence of the organization. And I mean, we're not surprised to see Apple, Alphabet, Amazon,
Yeah.
Microsoft, and Tesla leading this ranking because they're comforted by a long story of success and constant innovation. And of course, they are known, they have been studied, how they manage their innovation process, or those are world-class companies. But again, I think we have already, again, those two approaches that are quite complementary. They don't compete, huh? They're different and they don't
Yes.
compete. And I think they tell a very nice story already by themselves. Of course, I mean, the more sophisticated your ranking is, the more easily you can challenge it.
Yeah.
So maybe we can try to cover, let's say, more straightforward KPIs
Yes.
for measurement of innovation. So let's move to the next slide. And one of them is the R&D budget.
Right.
What does it mean? Typically, the more you spend, the more you get.
And here we have Huawei. Yeah, of course.
And I mean, there might be some element of truth in there because, of course, if you don't invest, if you don't take risk, you might not be able to foster innovation in the future. Of course, if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So here we have a list again of 5 companies: Amazon, Alphabet, Huawei,
Yeah.
Microsoft, and Apple, spending between 40 billion US dollars and 18 billion US dollars in R&D budget. Those are enormous budgets.
Yeah.
And of course, it brings something. it brings success to those companies. But again, if you compare with the others ranking, I mean, it tells you again a different story. And I found a very nice analysis from Simon Kutcher that says that it's not because you spend more that you are considered as the top innovators. And I think it's pretty much in line with the two previous ranking we have seen before. You can go see this ranking, this graph on the right of the slide, that the top 10 innovators and the top 10 spenders over 5 years, they are not exact. The top 10 spenders are not necessarily the top 10 innovators.
Innovators, yeah.
I mean, of course, they're gonna have some success, but of course, investing innovation is a risk, so it might not work. So, I mean, it's a good element to know that the company is investing, but I would say it's not enough. And yes, now remember, Simon Kutcher says that 72% of all new products do not meet their revenue target. Again, innovation is risky. So again, it's not because you spend a lot that you're going to be successful. But I would say it's kind of a necessary condition, right? I mean, in the same vein, I mean, it's quite similar. I mean, I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. If you talk about patents, because patents, of course, is a key element of innovation. Patent, again, what is a patent? Is an intangible. Every company has an intangible, as an intangible asset, and some of those intangibles can be protected with a legal framework called a patent. And what is a patent? Basically, a patent is a right to sue people who are copying what is in your patent. So if you put a lot of patents, you spend a lot of money because patents are expensive. Huh? But beside this, you do not sue anyone who are infringing your patent is worth zero because you don't enforce it.
Yeah.
So it's just to tell you that it's not because you have a patent that it protects you. And on top of it, there are inherent problems with patent because someone a bit smart can read your patent and say, but we can go around this patent because they do not protect this specific part of the technology. So I can focus on this part and I can kill their patent. Or I can make a new patent and go into a litigation with them. So it's not a perfect tool. I mean, many times we see products that we buy and we see patent pending or patent application or patent number to show that how cool is this or novel is this, etc. It's a tool that is sometimes difficult to use. When we look at this new ranking, we have another picture of the
completely different. But Microsoft is still there.
Microsoft is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you look at innovation from a patent perspective, then you have Samsung, IBM, Canon, Microsoft, and Bosch. There are some very obvious reasons why you have more industrial companies rather than software companies.
Yes.
Because software is difficult to patent. There might be some exception. What you patent is a product, is a technology, is a way to produce things. And it brings again the discussions: is patent a tool, a business tool of the past, or a tool of the future? And it's very relevant to certain companies. And you can see Samsung has 80,000 patents worldwide. It's enormous. A patent is extremely expensive. So when someone tells you that patents is from the past, you have this company, Samsung, that is an innovative company. That is a successful company. They are not stupid. They still invest massively in patents. So from their point of view, it's a strategically important component of their innovation strategy. to have lots of patents.
Mm.
So, but again, in this ranking, it's we have a new picture, and we see that a certain tool is relevant for a company, not for another one. Um, but let's not go too much into patents because people are gonna fly away
That's a
from
really
this.
good point you're making because we're selling products, we're selling experiences. Can you patent that? Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah, a customer journey. Can it be patented? I suppose there's a lot to be discussed in this space. Yeah,
But we'll come back a bit on patents later on. But it's because it's still relevant, I believe, and those companies that we see think it's relevant. They are not stupid. They have great inventors, great lawyers, and they
yeah,
still invest heavily in this, and it bring with success. But again, I think it's nice to see that according to the type of lens you're using to look at innovation, you get different results.
yeah.
So I propose that we move to the next slide, velocity.
Mm.
Velocity, what does it mean? It's how fast you can bring an idea, a concept, transform it into innovation, and bring it to the market. And here, unfortunately, I don't really have a ranking because what you can see is that it depends of the industry. It will really be comparing apples with pears. It's as we say in French. It wouldn't be that relevant. But I like a lot this graph that shows you. I mean, if you, I don't know, maybe I will put it a bit bigger for audience. I can show you that this what is measured here is the time to market or velocity. So this is the relationship between time to market and revenue cost. Um, the bottom part is the cost, the upper part is the revenue. So of course, if you and the horizontal bar is the time. That shows that at the beginning, at the time, the T0, you have no project, zero expense, and the more you move along, you have more expense, and that eventually will transform into revenue. And we hear a lot that nowadays, I mean, companies have to be fast. And I tend to agree because on some aspects, if you are an early bird on a certain technology, you you will beat your competition and establish your brand or your product, and you will regenerate more revenue. So basically, this graph advocates for shorter development cycles.
Yeah.
So it's better to invest a lot quickly in order to have quick results. And because if you do not do this, you at the end of the day, you may actually spend exactly the same amount over a longer period of time, okay, but you may arrive later on the market and someone has beaten you
All
and
right.
is really getting more profit. So that's really the story that this graph is telling us. And why I don't have a ranking again, because it really depends on the industry. Uh, and that's why I put this table. Energy to bring an idea to the market in the energy sector, it's between 7 to 23 years. Aerospace and defense between 3 and 20 years, 22 years, and so on. Pharmaceutical 9 to 19. And at the end of the day, consumer good 1 to 5. And I don't have softwares actually here, but I imagine they are at the bottom of the table. So unfortunately, I don't have a ranking, but I think it's a very interesting KPIs to have in mind. If you look at an industry and you look how fast one company is able to bring an idea to the market, and normally, well, not necessarily, but normally they should be if they are really fast and the first on the product, they should be one of the leading companies of the sector. I can, of course, share the source to anyone interested. Um, so what we see again here, I will come back to the. Uh, so let's put everything together, right? Because we have seen a lot of different ways to look at the business. And here in this slide, I put all the most innovative companies according to one, the innovation premium, second, the innovation readiness, the R&D budget, and then the patents. And we can see, bless you,
Sorry. Oh God.
and we can see that those rankings, I mean, they are very visible. I mean, they are very different rankings. What I like a lot this ranking, what I like about this ranking, that there are some companies that are there in one or two of these rankings, and it's not a surprise that those are very famous names. We have Alphabet, there is the holding of Google. They think they are ready. They are very strong into innovation readiness. They spend a lot in R&D budget. Then, of course, you have Amazon, who is very favored by the market and also very confident when it comes to assess its innovation capabilities. Microsoft, lots of patents, big budget, and also very confident about his innovation capabilities. And and of course, we have Tesla. And I think we're going to talk a bit about Tesla. And I will first, we're going to mention something else, but I'm announcing that it's going to be on Tesla because Tesla, there has been a lot of development recently. And the CEO, whether you like him or not, is a personality. And maybe you remember earlier on, I mentioned that within an organization, you need to have strong leadership. And I think Elon Musk is a very good example of what is a strong leader. But let's put it on the side for a little moment and apologize because I totally forgot that we need to cover, of course, critical aspects. Nowadays, a business that do not take into account sustainability is a business that is going to have a lot of problems in the future. Because if you don't do that, eventually you're going to have a problem. You're going to be reported, you're going to be called out, and this is going to have a bad impact on your image. It's going to have on the stock market is going to be reflected, on the morale of your employees is going to be reflected, and so on your stakeholders, and so on and so on. So it's not only a way to mitigate risk nowadays. It's part of the business to take into account social and environmental issues in your strategy. So whether you're looking at a company and you look at their projects, what they're currently working on, what they plan to work on, what I would advise is that you check if they have a strong communication about sustainability and this tell you how their projects, how the direction they are taking will help to answer sustainability issues. And the easiest way to do that is to go to the United Nations website and to check their sustainable development goals. It's the framework that is widely accepted, and it's if a company has a project that do not answer one of the goal of the UN, you can safely say that it's not truly sustainable. Does it reduce poverty? Does it reduce pollution? Does it reduce gender equality? Does it reduce, I mean, those problems? And also, importantly, does does this company focus only on one aspect? Because of course, if you only focus on carbon reduction, great, good, it's good to do that. But if you look at all the project and you see that the company is only focusing on one aspect, you can already have a feeling that they are not truly committed. They're not truly committing their innovation strategy toward sustainability.
Is
Because
there
the
like
true
an ideal number of goals you
there's
have
no sense because
considered?
again I mean, I worked a lot in cement industry, so of course CO2 in cement is key. But if I look at a cement company and I see they have a lot of initiative toward reducing CO2, I will say good. It's about time. But good that you're doing this. Good that you think you have to tackle it. But I think then if I see that they're only doing that, say, hey guys, you're missing the point. You have neighbors, you have quarries, you have plants, and you have neighbors. You're using water from community. What do you do for that? You are most likely you most likely have a plant in the countryside that is less developed than in a city. What do you do to make the life of your neighbors better? How do you contribute to the community? So I would like very much, let's keep with the cement company. I would like very much to see that, yes, of course, they're investing in CO2 reduction, and they're developing a lot of technology toward that end because it's critical. And I would say it's the bare minimum. But what do they do for the rest? And of course, we're talking about industrial construction company. What about gender equality? I mean, in 10 years, if they don't tackle those problems, the market is going to react badly. They're going to have issues. Maybe not now, because for the moment it's still acceptable. But we know nowadays things are moving really fast.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, you can even if you change positively, in 10 years from now, you can be blamed because you didn't move fast enough. That's how it is today.
But they're
So,
focusing on enabling people to work remotely. This seems to be one of the priorities, at least for the HR departments that I'm in touch with. This is one of the biggest pain point, and it helps you keep and attract talent of high quality if you have that in place. So, anyways, this is just a parenthesis.
in some aspects, yeah, it can be linked with the social mobility and the fact that people who were not eligible to get this job can now get this job based only on competencies and not purely on location. So
Yeah.
maybe somehow, yes, it promotes one of the UN sustainable goals. Yes, of course. But again, innovation, you need to have a big picture, it's multi-layered,
Yeah.
and same applies to innovation. And you can see we have 17 goals, and they all have subsets. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with those goals, but they all have subsets. They're pretty well established, and I really encourage you or your organization to have a look on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because it has become the most common standard to answer sustainable issues. Of course, there are others. Maybe some other might be more relevant to your industry and so on. But this is like
So
something
it
that is
comes.
standard. You can compare, and it's nice. So again, in this slide, we take an innovation or portfolio of innovation, and we see if it tackles one of the issues emphasized by the UN.
So you can be innovative without being sustainable. You can be sustainable without being innovative.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to the definition of innovation that we have used for this presentation, is that yes, you bring economic benefits, but also social value.
But the definition you gave us of innovation has an aspect of sustainability, right? When you
Yes,
have growth
it
for
should. It should.
social,
Yes,
economic aspects. Okay.
it should. And
Okay.
if some people don't believe that, I mean, they they don't know what's coming to them in the near future.
So if you're
They,
truly innovative, you're also sustainable.
I mean, we have to be realistic at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah.
In order to produce things, you still need to have a footprint.
Yeah.
But you still need to be conscious about it. You still need to try to tackle this issue, or if you cannot tackle this issue directly, you should try at least to compensate either on this subject or around this subject.
Yeah.
Uh, let's take for instance, well, I don't like it a lot, but the CO2 market credits. I mean, you pollute on one place of the planet, but you are making good deeds on the other line. So at the end, it balances. I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, I wouldn't say it's a perfect way of looking at things, but still, I mean, you somehow, if there's no way you can avoid um, to do damage, or at least you control it and you compensate in other aspects.
Yeah. Well,
And
running 1K is better than not running at all.
exactly, it's better than nothing, right?
Yes.
Because the situation is urgent, and we've been ignoring this for too long. And so when you want to have a true something truly innovative, of course, and I think the market more and more will favor this. You need to have an aspect of sustainability into your innovation. Not only an aspect, it needs to be at the center of your innovation policy.
Okay.
And you can see that nowadays, I mean, it's actually great for the next slide. Maybe let's jump to the next slide. Because nowadays there are a lot of ranking agencies. Now we have Moody's. I mean, same for the credit score, uh, the AAA companies, the blue chip companies, and so on. Now we have a lot of companies, thousands, but I listed here on the left part of the slide some of the most important and influential rating agencies that give sustainability scores to companies. We have, of course, Bloomberg that has its own index, Moody's, Standard and Poor's, FTSE Russells, MSCI, Sustainalytics, and so on and so on. So all those, and you can reach them online. It's very easy to get. They all have a ranking of sustainable companies. Of course, a financial company will have more chance to be at the top of the ranking rather than a cement company by
Sure.
definition. All right. So it's not really fair to the cement, even the industry. I use a lot the cement because I think
Or
it's
mining or metal or oil and gas. Yeah.
of traditional industry, CO2 intensive, and so on. So it's not really fair to those guys because maybe they are really committed to sustainability, but at the end of the day, they still need to produce concrete. Maybe they should not. It's another question here.
Yeah.
But those, what you can do is really check the top performers according to those agencies. And but you're gonna tell me, Siri, but what about innovation here? I mean, you guys, you look at sustainability and you have a ranking, but here what I'm proposing compared to the former slide, when you start from innovation and you see if it answers one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, here you actually do the contrary. You start with one of the champion of those ranking, one of these ranking agencies. So typically you have Visa, Mastercard, etc., and you use the tools that we developed today, that we that we that we presented today, and you take, let's say, Visa. Visa was in none of the rankings that we've seen before, but I can tell you they are the top scorer in all those rating agencies. And you see, first of all, if Visa has an innovation premium. Visa is a publicly traded company. You can do it.
Yeah.
Innovation readiness. Maybe you can check if we can check if it's in the report of BCG, which I have not done for the purpose of this presentation, but it's something that you can do. If you know someone working at Visa, you can check if how he feels about this aspect, or you can do a bit of research and see the literature as tell you if Visa is an innovation ready organization. You can check the R&D budget, publicly traded company, you can find it, and the number of patents that they hold. With a quick search, you don't need to be a patent expert, you can find it. So there you take a champion. So typically those guys, those companies are favored by those credit agencies. Why? Because those credit agencies, they sell sustainable funds to banks. So now you can buy green bonds, green funds, green stock, green investment vehicles. And typically, you can go into the fact sheet. You will have this company, visas, financials, and so on. I mean, I'm not here to tell anyone how to manage their money, but if you tell me, yeah, this is a great, this you will have a lot of impact by investing into this fund. I mean, if I see Visa, I mean, I don't see how investing in Visa has a great effect on the planet. At least I'm not damaging by not investing in energy and oil and gas and so on. Okay, but I mean, why not? I'd rather invest in a truly innovative company, maybe a mining company that has a a truly innovative portfolio of initiatives. And I think again, if you bring all of this together, I think we start to build a nice vision of what is innovation, what is also greenwashing, what is also innovation washing, because you can blah blah
And
announce a
also
lot.
innovation wash. Okay.
Everybody's innovative. I'm innovative. You're innovative. But show me how. Do you have materiality? Do you have a report? Show me how you organize. The same with sustainability. Everybody talks about it, but at the end of the day, nobody is here to show the materials they have, the KPIs they use, all they enforce it for the organization. And I think that with all the tools that we have presented today, it's already a bit better.
Hmm.
I think we should move to the conclusion with Tesla. I think now people have all those elements in mind, and I think they're ready to be a bit to show how why we talk about Tesla and why we're going to be uh, praising and also criticizing Tesla. Uh, Probably many of you heard that Elon Musk has announced that the patents portfolio of Tesla was accessible to everybody, right?
Yeah, open source. The Tesla building is supposedly available to anybody who accesses the well, he
Yeah.
said all of the, yeah, the patents are there for, well, I don't know if they're protected or not, or, but anyways, you'll tell us. But I know it's on open source because he wants to incentivize people to build electric cars. So I'm Toyota, I go and I discover how they built it, and I can technically actually put it together exactly the same way. But I think there's a but.
Of course, because it is a very, very smart announcement by Elon Musk. It's not new, it's from 2014. No?
Right.
Uh, why is smart? Because it gives an image of the company that is betting on velocity. Because the
Yeah,
patent
he's
protects
fostering
revenue.
innovation. Yeah,
So
yeah,
why patent something that is going to be obsolete in the next 6 months? Okay. And also it gives a very positive image of the company that we are ready, guys. I mean, you can take our patent. We don't care because there are
yeah.
company advantage is somewhere else. And even Elon Musk said publicly that patent is for the weak. So it is a very strong statement. It is a very it's a
Radical
very
state. Yeah,
to Canon, IBM, Samsung, who are large patent holders. I
yeah.
mean, the more you patent, the more you are weak, guys. I think it's a very smart, but there is a but. But maybe, I mean, you say it's open source. It's not open source. Open source is mean it's designed to be publicly accessible to
Yeah.
anyone. Open source software. I mean, we all used this kind of open source software. You can download it. No one asks you anything about it. You don't have to pay. It's
Yeah.
just there for you. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Voilà. It's not exactly, in the case of Tesla, it's not exactly open source. That means that if you are using the portfolio of Tesla, means you need to open your own IP portfolio to anyone.
Hmm. There was a
So
but. So if I'm
there's a
gonna
but.
use your technology, you should be able to use mine.
Everybody should be able to use yours.
Okay. Oh, so it's completely open. Okay, understood.
Well, I mean, so if you're General Motors, you say, "Oh, great, I'm going to use patents from Tesla," but that means that other car manufacturer can use mine. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, They invested a lot. Maybe in some cases it makes sense for them to have a patent and so on. But what I like a lot about uh, this initiative, that means like, okay, guys, we need to move from being defensive or even compliance, and we need to be civil. So I'm telling you that now it's open source, but in order to be open source, that everybody around me needs to be at the same level as I am. And I
Yeah.
think I mean, it might be, I'm sure there have been some success stories regarding the users of Tesla patents. But of course, Tesla has other competitive advantages. Barrier of entries into car markets are huge. So velocity of Tesla is probably greater than other companies. I mean, 15 years ago, they were not they were not big players. I mean, it tells a nice story. But let's not kill patents too quick. And this is the next and last slide. We all heard in the past few weeks that months that the Twitter has been bought by Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And there is this guy who has made a very interesting analysis about the Tesla IP portfolio and the Twitter IP portfolio, because Twitter has an IP portfolio, even as a software company. And to show in this graph the combined. And I mean, Elon Musk is very criticizes a lot of patents. He doesn't like them. It's for the weak. But his portfolio of patents tells otherwise. It tells us another story. You may not have 80,000 patents like a Samsung,
Yeah.
but it's still quite an impressive number. Hundreds, almost thousands of patents nowadays. And what I like about this graph is that it shows you where the company is focusing. So it's not a big surprise to see that Tesla is focusing on electronics and automotives.
Right.
And of course, Twitter is focusing on information computation. And you made a very interesting comment at the beginning of the meeting, is that uh, Tesla is not only an industrial company, it's also a software company. And here, I mean, Tesla and Twitter is not a conglomerate, and those are companies in which Elon Musk has invested or has majority stakes. It's not a conglomerate like Sony, Panasonic, etc. But still, it tells you a story that where Elon Musk, as an investor, wants to go. His patent portfolio focuses on electronics, automotive, information, and probably many people have heard that Tesla is not a car manufacturer. It's a software company that will sell you self-driving cars. And they're currently selling cars in order to collect data.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great way. So again, if you look at whole story of innovation and where Tesla is located, even though they are not the first ranked in the first top five, or not even in the top 100, I guess, in the patent holders, it's still part of their strategy. It's not open source, even though they're clearly setting an example here. And they're still betting heavily on patents. And it's been almost an hour, and I thank you for your patience.
No, it was wonderful. Come on. I want to know, what is your take on like the future, perhaps. I don't want to talk about the future of patents. I don't think we have time for that. But products are changing into, experiences, and we're seeing that this is definitely a trend, and this is how we used to sell lemonade, then we sold organic lemonade, and now we're selling the idea of having freshly prepared organic lemonade. And um, the idea of driving Tesla or being a user of Twitter. You talked about the collection of data points. Is that the goal for most? Well, we know social media is going to to do just that, and we're using it knowing that we're very conscious of the fact that our data is being collected. Should we be
Hmm.
mindful of this in the way we behave and we consume, or should we patent our data? Maybe something for our next live, but
Well, I
these are,
mean,
yeah,
it's
questions
true
that
that
come to mind.
I think there are three elements in what you have just said. If you like from products to experience, and I think sustainability is playing a big role in that, and it needs to be promoted by innovation. How do you bring this French lemon juice without conservatives to the fridge of people, either with a very nice supply chain or a way to bottle your product? So there might be some innovation in order to bring this experience to people. So here, sustainability innovations need to work hand in hand. When we talk about big data, everybody's talking about big data nowadays, right? And it's true that the social media is a key player. But I think what we have heard in the past few years, and it's actually been kind of disappointing, and we can see the market kind of voting with his feet when it comes to Meta or even Twitter. That those big data, when it comes to social media, it's basically to sell you ads. So we don't see a lot of big progress for humanity there. Actually, their business model is pretty raw. It's pretty straightforward. It's just to make sure that on Black Friday you have the advertisement for this TV you are looking at Google, and
Yeah,
you have um, this tailored publicity. So big data is very useful. Where I think, and we can see there is the past 10 years there is a strong trend, and I think again Tesla is a good example here. Uh, how traditional industry can leverage big data or can transform into industry 4.0
mm,
in order to bring concrete advanced innovative and sustainable advancement into everyday's into people's life, right? So I wouldn't say that Tesla is a truly green product, but it answers something that consumer and market is asking
yeah,
to get out of oil-based locomotion.
mm,
Um, I mean, it has a lot of advantages, but I mean, in terms of CO2, it's not that great. But still, what you can see is that those guys are producing cars, whether it's electric or not, doesn't matter. They're producing cars, but they're collecting a lot of data, and with a clear innovation in mind, self-driving cars. And self-driving car, what it could bring, the on terms of infrastructure, in terms of safety, I mean, what it could bring if it works well is tremendous. And I think that's what I would like to see, like those traditional industry using this big data, leveraging the big data in order to make everybody's life better. And I'm not that, I mean, I'm sure social media can help, but so far the experience I had, and I see the market moving away from them somehow. This so far it has purely to sell you advertisement.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is we're aware of it, and we I guess we use it anyhow, at least in my experience. But oh my God, it's this innovation topic is never ending, Cyril. This can go on and on for different.
You can go again because everybody has a different definition. Everybody has a different ways of looking at it, and we covered this
Yes,
today. But I think if you do a bit of research and you take a multi-layered approach to analyzing innovation, you will have already a very good image of your company, your industry, or the company you want to work for,
yes,
and so on. And I think that all those ranking that we have covered today, they tell a story, and you can make your own rankings. You can go there and check some data, very easily accessible, and decide by yourself.
yes. So well, thank you so much, Cyril. I learned a lot, and I cannot wait to follow up with you in 2023 so we can do another one about the future of IP, the future of patents. Yes, the future of intellectual property, and how it's changing. And how also my takeaway is going to be here: innovation is not necessarily always sustainable, as we were discussing now about Tesla, but there are some aspects that are interconnected, and it's good to raise these. The next live actually will be about sustainability with a focus on transformation, because it is a transformative process um,
So,
to manage that kind of change. And perhaps there will also be some links to innovation. But thank you enormously. I will leave the floor now for the audience. If they decide to ask away, feel free. Here on Instagram, we're also live, and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. um, and if not, I'm sure they can comment later and ask questions directly to Cyril. Feel free to contact him, add him on LinkedIn, and myself. But and apologies for my sneezing. I'm under the weather, but it's getting better. So yeah, for now, no questions. Maybe we wait a few more seconds, and then we will conclude. I'll see you all again in 2023 for the next live on sustainability and managing change and those transformations. Cyril, if you have any last few recommendations, otherwise we will end here.
no, it's all fine. I think if you talk about innovation, put it in several aspects, keep it simple, but multi-layered.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for being with us today, and I'll
Thank
see
you,
you
Rebecca.
next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.